We've got the new Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Washington Capitals, Chris Patrick here. Have you answered enough questions today?
Yeah, this is the most time I've ever. Sure.
How are you enjoying it? So this is the new future for you. You know, you got to be in front of the microphone explaining everything.
I see why Mac always runs away from you guys now when he sees you. Yeah.
Well, it's just historic. That's all he just hides from Tarek.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you look at this, and you've been around the Washington Capitals longer than I've been around the Washington Capitals. I got here in '89, and you were a kid that was about the same height as me. You were like 12 years old back then. But you come from a hockey family. You've played collegiately. You got out of it for a while. You come back, and you've worked your way up. How important were all those steps along the way in your hockey journey to become the general manager?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just wanted to do it the right way. I didn't want to have anything given to me or have anything look like it was given to me. You know, I wasn't naive to the fact that, you know, my family name could lend itself to that. So, and I embraced it too. Like I've loved every step of the way here. Like I loved when I first started, I'd go to a junior game and, you know, you drive into town and you grab a coffee and you find somewhere high in the stands and you watch the game. And then I loved going to NHL games. I mean, the people that are pro scouting for teams in this league, it's a great group of people. They're welcoming, they're fun, and that was a great time in my life. And then getting more involved with Hershey and doing a little bit of team building there, and obviously, you know, going on some runs and winning some championships and getting your heart beating a little fast in June was always fun. So, yeah, I really kind of treasured it all along the way.
You mentioned your family. I'm sure it must have been tremendous to have your dad sitting up there on the dais with you as you were introduced. The Patrick family, not just the immediate family, but, you know, I think about Craig and the success he had in Pittsburgh and the generations before that too. How much has that meant to you to have, knowing that this is, you know, maybe just part of your legacy, that you can take the Patrick legacy to another level?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a cool thing. You know, hockey nerd when I was a kid and stuff. The first thing I do is go back to the index and look for Patrick's and look for where, you know, find pictures of my grandfather, his brother, my great-grandfather. You know, I mean, it was not wasted on me how special it was to be part of the Patrick family. And I hope I didn't take it for granted or you know, make anybody think that I wasn't totally respectful and in awe of what, you know, some of the Patricks before me have done. You know, it's a really great group of people. I used to love as a kid being around my uncles and my father and hearing the stories and my grandfather as well had some great stories. So it's been fun being part of it.
Well, when you look back on so many things to do with the Patrick name, my favorite era of hockey, and I'm having a hard time with this evolution and growth of the game and the changing landscape, but I love the Patrick division because of the kind of hockey was played back then. I love the Chuck Norris division. You know, when that went away, I felt like the NHL was forever changing. So I really miss that. And I know when your dad first got here with David Poyle, they made a huge trade and they acquired Craig Laughlin. What are you going to do? I know this has been a huge month. It's been incredible. We've been texting and calling each other nonstop as broadcasters, and how happy we've been and seeing how this team has developed. Are you going to put a signature move on this team now that you're officially the general manager?
Yeah, I don't know if we have any money left to put a signature move on, but yeah, I mean, I think now, I mean, this is when the league gets a little quiet. I think teams are trying to finish up whatever RFAs they have left. You know, I think there's 14 or 15 players that filed for arbitration, so they got to work through that stuff. And August gets pretty quiet. I mean, I think there'll be some opportunities here and there for maybe some smaller things, but we'll just kind of weigh them as they come in. And really, I don't anticipate much until training camp, and we'll see where we are.
General manager calls you, tries to steal Tom Wilson for you from a couple third-round draft choices.
Yeah, that'd be a hard sell on me.
Well, what is that going to be? Well, I mean, are you kind of looking forward to that first call, or you making that first call? What about some of the actual details of the job are kind of exciting for you to be able to now do and call your own shot on that?
Yeah, well, several GMs that I have relationships with from before have already reached out, and again, very welcoming group. Jim Nill actually called me this morning, and I didn't have a relationship with him, so that I thought was really cool. But yeah, you know, I think I said yesterday to you, Al, like, it was really easy from where I was sitting before for Mac to come in and say, you know, so-and-so thinks we should give, you know, a second rounder for this guy. And we, no way, Mac. That's way too much. And it's like, okay, well, you want to call him and tell him that then? So that'll be different. It's kind of navigating being a little more diplomatic in how you talk to the other GMs.
And when we look at where the franchise has gone, I guess really in your lifetime, there was, you know, Ted takes over the ownership, and then you have basically the Ovi era, but I felt like there was a rebirth of the franchise when Mac became the general manager and he hires Barry Trotz, and the roster changed, and just in a few years, you're a part of this. You win a Stanley Cup. Where do you see this team being right now as far as rebuilding, rebirth, whatever you want to refer to it as, the reload? How do you feel about the current state of things with the Washington Capitals?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I mean, I think, you know, looking at some of the moves we did here, I mean, obviously getting Pierre-Luc Dubois, like this time last year, 15 teams were lining up to try to trade for him and sign him. And you know, he went to LA, and for whatever reason, he didn't have a good year. We think, you know, we figured out why, and we think that he'll have a good year here. It's definitely a risk, but I think we feel pretty comfortable about it. And so you get a guy that potentially be a really good player for you for a lot of years. That's just turned 26. I think we're starting to build in that kind of like next age group of players, you know, like Dylan Strome and that age level, and then you've got the next level below that with Connor and Alexei Protas, and then you've got the guys that just kind of finished up winning a couple championships in Hershey, and then a couple drafts worth of guys. So I think you've got kind of layers of good players coming, which, you know, it's either going to help the team on the ice or it's going to help the team get a player to help them on the ice. So I think we're as well positioned as we've been in a long time from a prospect and talent pool.
Also think because of your relationships with the people in Hershey, the people in South Carolina, you had an early relationship with Spencer Carberry, right? So that's got to be a real advantage for you coming into this role, a unique relationship that you had with nobody else in the organization could really say.
Definitely. Carbs and I have a great relationship, and he feels comfortable to speak frankly to me, and vice versa, which definitely helps. I mean, you don't necessarily have that luxury when you're hired into a new organization as a GM, and that goes really for a lot of people in the organization. I mean, especially over the last couple of years that I've been around the team more, you know, developing relationships with Jason Service, developing relationships with Zach Ledden and Brock Miles. I mean, just like all these people that you have to interact with all the time in order to have a successful organization, and already having those established coming into this role, I think is just huge.
And as we go forward, it'd be the last question for me, is what are your expectations for the team this season?
I mean, I think we have a good chance to be competing for a playoff spot. You know, I think if we can stay healthy and you know, I think the goaltending is able to replicate what it did last year or get close to it, I think we have a good chance to be competitive for a playoff spot.
Chris, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations. Look forward to working with you down the road.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it,
Take
guys.
care.
Chris Patrick, the new Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Washington Capitals.